Hello and welcome to this video. I am Johanna and I live in a small village in rural Sweden. But in this video you get to follow me on a trip to Venice. I had never been to Venice but always wanted to go. So when my friend Elena asked if I wanted to meet up with her and Isabel there, it was an immediate yes. I arrived in Venice just as the sun was setting. And coming from temperatures as low as minus 18 degrees Celsius the week before, it was magical just to see the sun at 5 p.m. and have it warm your face. I found my way to our hotel and met up with Elena, and then we went out for dinner while we waited for Isabel to arrive from Britain. The food was wonderful, and after some glasses of wine we went back to the hotel to wait for Isabel. On our first full day, we got up to have breakfast together, before me and Isabella headed out to explore, while Elena stayed back at the hotel to finish some work. We went down to Piazza San Marco and went inside Basilica di San Marco, and were just amazed by how beautiful it was, and the skill and craftsmanship that has gone into building it. Because it's the off-season, we never had to wait in a line, and got all the time to look at things in detail, without that feeling that you are in the way. On the top floor, there is a museum dedicated to the basilica and the incredible craftsmanship. Nearly all the surfaces of the basilica is covered in mosaics. A lot of it made on the island of Murano, just north of Venice. I got so inspired by the mosaics that I want to try my hands at doing a small mosaic in the guest apartment that we're currently renovating. I went to Venice with the thought of just putting up simple tiles, and now afterwards I'm working on a mosaic design well over my skill level. But that was a side note that I will keep you updated on. Inside there is also a set of 4 bronze horses, whose age is debated. Many scholars believe them to be sculpted around the 2nd or 3rd century AD, while some want to date them as far back as the 5th century BC. What is known is that they were placed on the facade of the basilica after the looting of Constantinople in 1204. They got moved inside in the early 80s for conservation purposes, and replicas are now overlooking the square. Afterwards we had some lunch and our first but not last Aperol Spritz of the trip. Then we met up with Elena and took a walk to the Museum of Palazzo Mocenigo to look at their incredible collection of textiles and costumes. They also had a beautiful exhibition on perfumes, with so many perfume bottles and a station where you could smell the ingredients. The next day we got on a boat to Burano, a beautiful island 45 minutes north of Venice, known for their lace and colorful houses. Elena had managed to book us a class at Museo del Merletto, where we got to try this technique of needle lace, taught to us by 3 lovely lace makers. The museum is housed in what once was the famous Burano Lace School. For me, this was my first time trying needle lace, and I loved it, and it also goes to show how important it is to keep traditional crafts alive, because they tell us so much about history. After trying a craft and getting to feel the materials and experience how much skill it takes and how time-consuming it can be, you will never look at things the same. Before the class I could look at lace and appreciate it and the beauty of it. Afterwards I look at the same lace and is just stunned over the skill it takes to make it. If you want to learn more about lace, you really should go and follow Elena, who is a wonderful textile historian and lace maker. had a wonderful dinner at a seafood restaurant before getting the boat back to Venice. If you get a chance to visit Venice, don't miss out on this magical island. When we came back to Venice, we did some shopping. We went to this beautiful shop called Scriba and then picked up some cake and went back to the hotel. On Sunday, we went down to Piazza San Marco for a luxury breakfast at Café Florian, which has to be one of the most beautiful cafes I've ever set foot in. Opened in 1720, it is one of the oldest cafes in the world. Then we did some shopping. If there was a downside to visit Venice in the off-season, it is that some of the smaller shops, especially the small antique ones, were closed because this is the only time of year when they can go on vacation. Sad for us, but it made our wallets happier. Next we went to Villa Fortuny, once the home of Henriette Negrin and Mariano Fortuny, and now a museum. This is absolutely worth a visit, to be let into this multi-talented couple's home, maybe most known today for their textiles of printed velvet and pleated silks. Then we sadly had to say goodbye to Elena, and me and Isabel spent our last night at this very nice cocktail bar that Isabel had found when she first arrived in Venice. We had half a day left that we spent walking around and took a tour of the Teatro la Venice, the famous opera house that has lived up to its name. It was first destroyed in a fire in 1836 but rebuilt, and then disaster struck again in 1996 when the theatre was completely destroyed in another fire, but rebuilt and opened once more in 2003. Then it was sadly time for me to leave for Sweden. I really want to come back, and I miss Venice, I miss Isabel, and I miss Elena. But hopefully we will go on more adventures together.